Welcome to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island. Free-flowing talk with a charismatic, down-to-earth host. Join Dean as he interviews and chats freely with his guests, ranging from superstar athletes to politicians, industry titans, and everyday folk with fascinating life stories. Dean educates, entertains, and most of all, touches people's lives. You're listening to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dean Blechman Show. This is your host, Dean. How are you today, Anthony?
I'm all right.
Man, we've had some pretty hot weather. It's been pretty hot.
Let me tell you, this is my theory on the weather. People complain about, Long Island, it's so cold in the winter, and it's always freezing, and during the winter months. And to me, like, I used to live in Florida for a short period of time. And when you're cold, you could put on layer after layer after layer. And eventually, at some point, you're going to warm up, right? But when you're hot, and when it's 91 degrees here in other parts of the country, 100, 110 degrees, and you can't cool off, and you take all your clothes off, and you're walking around naked, you can't leave your house, right? And then when you're still hot, what are you going to unzip your skin? So to me, it's like I'd rather be in the cold and layer up than be in the hot weather.
I mean, we keep talking about schwitzing, huh? It's unbelievable how hot it's been. I mean, the summer in the beginning was so mild. We had such a cool summer until the past 10 days have been very oppressive.
It's climate change, buddy.
Big climate change. I'll tell you one thing. I'm really enjoying the Olympics in Rio. Really great. Some great stuff.
I hear the U.S. is kicking ass from a few clips I've been watching on YouTube.
They're doing great.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the swimming and gymnastics, beach volleyball. Just great stuff. Great stuff.
I saw this amazing picture on LinkedIn. They had a boy taking a picture about 8 years ago of Michael Phelps, because it was one of his. He looked up to him. It was, and apparently, I forget the boy's name. He's from Singapore, and he was not only in the Olympics, the Rio Olympics, but he also beat Michael Phelps, and he set the world record in the swimming event.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
So not only is the weather heating up here in the Northeast, but it's really heating up in the political war as well. It is really hot right now, huh? It's getting hotter and hotter. Oh, the next 2 months is going to be it's going to be really a tremendous fight.
I'm telling you,
it's going to be a battle.
I watch his, it amazes me. I mean, he's campaigning almost every day. I watch it. YouTube does the live streams, like, how we do here with the show, and they'll stream out Trump's campaign trail and his, all these events. Then literally every night I've seen him on YouTube he's in another state, and the guy just doesn't lose any steam at all.
Nope. Why don't we go, let's bring our friend in over in the UK. Let's bring in the lovely Ria Bo. Ria, are you with us today?
Hey guys, of course I'm with you today. How are you both today?
Beautiful,
Ria. Good afternoon. How's the weather there in the UK?
Woo, it's hot, guys. Really, really hot. And I'm all for what Anthony said, really. It would be great if you could unzip your skin to cool off a bit, kind of thing. I'm not so, although I've been in hot territories and stuff, like really hot Amazon and all that kind of stuff, I'm not the biggest fan. So I'm on sort of Anthony's school of thinking. I'd sooner it be a bit cooler and wrap up than too hot and you can't cool down.
Wow, I guess you need a little bit more of a spray on and a little more powder these days out there, Ria, huh?
Hey, I'm fair-skinned and blonde-haired. It doesn't go well with heat.
So we've had quite a week of shows from Zach and Cody Vachinsky, the legendary real estate brokers out on the east end of Long Island, out in the rich Hampton marketplace. Zach and Cody, we had a great show. We had a great show with the principal, educator, great historian Stuart Pollock, and just yesterday was a classic, just a classic. I know you guys got a lot of story, but our colleague and our dear friend Scott Morrell, the legendary caterer, and storyteller. So, I know we had a few hiccups yesterday, and I'll leave it to you, Anthony. I know we had some technical and sound and technical challenges with YouTube, and maybe you and Rhea have some comments or stories to say to the audience in regard to what we're experiencing. This is a new venture for me, and we're basically into it 2.5, 3 weeks. So there's going to be sometimes some speed bumps. So I know you're smiling. Anthony is smiling and he's chuckling. And I know we keep it light and we keep it real on this show. And I know you guys have something you want to maybe share with the audience about yesterday, the Scott Morrell show. So go ahead, Anthony. It's all yours and Rhea's.
I have to smile because if I didn't smile, I'd probably strangle you. But
Anthony, you'd have to climb over me to get to him.
Okay, but I did email Scott about 11:30 last night when everything finally was working properly, and I said, Scott, I says. You must have really pissed off the powers that be, the universal powers that be. That's how I phrased it. So whatever it is that you believe in, whether it's some higher universal power or God, I says you must have really pissed someone off because no matter what we did, we couldn't archive the show. So typically, after people listen to the live show, it gets archived on YouTube, so people that missed the live stream can then listen to it, and that takes maybe 20, 30 minutes after the live stream is done. And for some reason yesterday it took about 7 hours and change, and we wound up doing it in alternate method, and it was even having trouble doing that on my MacBook, so I wound up using Dean. So all kidding aside, though, I do apologize to the listeners because I know a lot of people were looking forward to that show. We talked about this a little bit before. The three of us, unfortunately, we live in a world where we're all so dependent on technology. When something doesn't work the way you're expecting it to work, and you don't fully understand the system, or you didn't develop that system, you want to strangle somebody. I mean, it may not be Dean. I'm obviously, being silly about it, but, it's very frustrating.
But you really wanted to strangle me.
Well, because when you keep asking me what's going on, I'm like, call YouTube. Who's the guy that started Eric Smith or whoever the guy, call him. I don't know, But it's the world we live in now with technology, and it shows you, that, we're almost a slave to technology. And it's, in a way, it's kind of scary, really. But, yeah, so sorry to the listeners about that, but I think we have a solution going forward. It probably won't happen again.
Hey, listen, when I see all the channels on TV, I see that they experience some technology and some sound issues, and they've been at it for 50 or more years.
Yeah, it comes with the territory.
I'm sure Rhea, let's go over to Rhea. I'm sure she has some more to add in regard to your comments about yesterday, and has her own stories of what she went through yesterday with Dean. Go ahead, Rhea.
It was quite interesting. So this is what happens. As the show didn't go out on time, as we're very aware of this, and it was technical problems out of our reach, as it were, maybe we could do better in being further ahead of the game, but this is still under development. From the outside looking in, it maybe looks easy, but God, there's more work to it than you might think. Anyway, I'm at my daughter's friend's son's birthday party in a living room with loads of mums and lovely children with balloons, and everybody's smiling, and we're doing baby. My phone goes off. Dean's on the end, and he's losing it. He's losing it. So, it's coming at me hard, and I'm trying to find space away from these lovely people that are all smiley and birthday cakes and blowing out candles, while this guy's letting off steam down the phone. and it started on speakerphone, so everybody kind of knew there was some tension going on. So I couldn't get my finger on the phone quick enough to get it onto normal phone and get it to my ear. And then just this barrage was just coming in. And of course, I can't get away from the party. There's children and mums everywhere. And of course, he wants me to be cross as well. And I can't be cross. I've got 2-year-olds around my feet. And I'm going, oh, that's lovely, Dean. Oh, I'm sure it won't be a problem, Dean. It was awful, I tell you.
Hey, ready, Rhea, for this? So at about 9 o'clock last night, Dean texts me, again, he says, Anthony, what's the problem now? Going on 6 hours now. So I said, I know you're really not asking me the same thing again, because as I said, I had no idea what the problem was. So he texts me. Now, mind you, it's 9:25 p.m. Wake Rhea up. I said, Dean, it's 3:30 in the morning in the UK.
That's crazy stuff going on. I don't know the guy that runs YouTube.
Yeah, I know. It's funny stuff.
Yeah, but everybody's got to realize that at the moment that I'm doing this with Rhea, she's across the Atlantic in the UK, that I'm not picking up a phone and I'm not behaving this way just over a phone call. That this is a Skype conversation that's taking place from Setauket, Long Island in New York here, all the way over to the UK.
Yeah.
So it's just unbelievable. You got to remember, at the same time, I've got Scott Morrell texting me that he's told hundreds of family and friends that he's going on the air, and we were going through these technical problems. That he was great about it.
Well, out of all the shows to wait for, this one was definitely worth the wait, because that was one hell of a good show.
That was an unbelievable show. Scott Morrell.
It was a good show. And there's more as well regarding the technical side, in the fact that, so Dean, the last time I've spoken to Dean, so this is the next day on, am I ready to speak to Dean without being cross yet? Oh, only just. It's touch and go. Do you know what I mean? But I'm playing it English, and I'm going to keep a stiff upper lip, but say what needs to be said. I'm due to go on in an hour, and I'm in a control room here, and there is stuff in here, technical stuff. I can see the world on lots of different screens and all that kind of stuff. An hour and 10 minutes before this very show, the whole thing goes and just powers down. Oh no, I've got to tell Dean we can't do the show.
He's stroking out.
Oh, what am I going to do? I didn't want to face it. I really didn't. And I thought, I've got to face the music and tell him, and so, yeah, it just goes on. It's hilarious.
I had his MacBook last night, and I'll just end it with this as far as the story goes. So now, mind you, it's like glued to my lap, but it's late at night. It's, 10:30, 11 o'clock. And, I have his MacBook in bed with me. And I'm also watching a movie with Diana at the same time. So the MacBook is off to my right, Diana's off to my left, and she goes to put her feet up on my lap. I said, Diana, don't do that. If you kick Dean's MacBook off the bed, I'm going to have to tell him not only is the show not going up, but now the computer's broken.
MacBook, lovely.
Hey, you guys know, and a lot of people that do know me, they know I try to be a perfectionist, and my intentions were that I just want things to go as perfect as possible. But I know that my wife Sharon and Allison and Jared are listening to this show and laughing, smiling, and saying, if you guys in the short time, Anthony, you met me back in April, and not in April, in December. It was Rhea and I met in April. That you guys should only listen to them what they go through day to day.
I give that Ali, Jared, Sharon, if you're listening, I give you guys a ton of props that you've essentially been with this man your whole life and have been able to deal with it. It's
I just want things to go as perfect as possible, and that means I care about my listening audience.
It's a beautiful trait to have. It is, though. It is.
So, but anything.
Yesterday, I was saying to myself, he's passionate about what he's doing, so that's the reason why. But when, let's face it, you are a diva, aren't you? You are. Aren't you? Go on.
Listen, there's another part of this story, and I promised I would not mention my dentist's name. But there's another part of this story that I had, yesterday I had a part of my tooth that way back there, the farthest tooth in the back of my mouth had chipped off. And 3 weeks ago, I had a temporary inlay. It's called an inlay put in my mouth from my dentist. And yesterday was my day in the middle of all this chaos going on that these two people need to understand. That yesterday was the day in between all this that I had to make a visit to my dentist. I'm not going to mention his name because I love him, and I think he's the best dentist on the planet, in the universe, and it wasn't his fault with what I'm going going to share the story. I just want everybody to know what the duress I was under. So here I sit in the dental chair late in the day in between everything that was going on with Rhea and Anthony, and had my mouth numbed up with Novocaine. It was the day to have the permanent inlay put in. And the next thing you know, he's working on it for about a half hour. And next thing I hear, don't swallow it. It wasn't like it was laying on my tongue to just spit it out. It was already way back in my throat. So after all that, I swallowed my inlay. And now I have to go back again. They got to make another one, and I've got to reschedule a whole nother visit. So
the very expensive inlay.
I left there with a numb mouth and lips and everything like that.
And he shows up to me with the MacBook. You're not going to believe what just happened.
So getting off of that, was there anything in the shows that we did this week, both of you, Anthony and Rhea, that really stood out with the Vichinsky brothers, Stu Pollock or Scott Morrell, that you just want to chat about?
I thought they were all incredible shows. Vichinsky brothers, being from my generation, very, very inspiring to see two young men accomplishing and going out there and taking life by the horns, so to speak. Stu, another amazing individual, and Scott, as we know, he's just a character in and of himself. So I enjoyed all of them equally.
Rhea, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength, really. All quite different, though. I mean, Zach and Cody, done really well, got, packaged together this great idea and entrepreneurship to Gabriella. I guess they have that in common. I was thinking about Gabriella's one, actually. It's guildshare.com.
Yes.
I think that's really good value for people, because you can spend a lot of money on glossy magazines and chocolate. I've done that. But yet you can go on her site and you have a choice of 18 magazines for free. So I think that's great. And I hope she gets where she wants to go. Stu was about, for me, seemed the most honourable. He was out to help other people, sort of thing, at a real kind of street level. So that was that one. And Scott, I just learned more and more about Scott and would love to just chew the fat with him more, really. And it was really lovely to get into some politics, if you're into that kind of thing, have sort of opposing views, and we still love each other at the end of it. So I'm good to go on those, Dean.
Let me tell you something. Scott Morrell could have done a 5 or 10 hour show with us yesterday, and he's going to be a delight. He is so worldly and so knowledgeable. I look forward to having Scott back many times on the show, either as a guest, a co-host. His writings are just incredible.
Scott,
you should get
polymath.
on a 3-in-1.
Definitely. And Stu Pollock, shortly after that show, we spoke about his son, Jordan, 19 years old, and aspired through his youth to become a filmmaker. And it's no more aspiring that Jordan Pollock, his son, 19 years old today, is a filmmaker. He's done some great stuff. I'm going to say very little on this show, but because Jordan will be a guest on in a couple of weeks, just incredible the work he's doing in the film area, Stu's son. So on that note, the rest of the show is going to be very different format that would normally take its place. And one of the unique things that I love about Rhea Bow, when we first met back in April, and I got to know Rhea more, is that there's going to be times on this show that she really breaks with some really fascinating worldly stories in all areas. And she called me up yesterday, and I felt it was important enough today to get on the air and for my audience to really hear about what Rhea has to say about a unbelievable newsworthy story that I think it's important to address on today's show and not wait. So, Rhea, if we could go back over to you as a segue, it's all yours.
Okay, sweetie. So I'll pick it up from the phone call that I made to you yesterday. Well, the Skype call, obviously, it's all international. In fact, we don't have phone numbers, do we? It's just all done sort of via VIOP.
And this Skype call by me, let me say, was before I did the crazy call to you later on in the day.
Oh no, everything was good. You was not having a diva moment at this point. So this was just me doing my thing. I'm an investigative journalist, and I was just doing my thing. I come across a story about, I don't know, probably 2 months ago, something like that. I come across a guy named Dane Wigington, and he runs a site called Geoengineeringwatch.com. He is of the scientific community, moves out to California with his family and discovers there's a problem. And basically, the long and the short of it is he started to collect evidence within rainwater to say there's a problem. There is loads of aluminium and other reflective metals, heavy metals within the water that's falling from the skies. So he looked into it some more and gathered a ton of evidence and has presented it to the scientific community to say that the government, not just the US government, he tends to think it's a global thing where they are spraying oxides into the atmosphere to reflect the sun. Now, this leads to two issues. One, are they doing this? And two, why are they doing this? So I want to play you a quick clip to introduce you to Dane Wigington and geoengineeringwatch.com. And this is the beginning of a speech that he's doing in front of scientists. So these aren't guys in a bar getting drunk. These are serious, qualified people that he's speaking to. So just have a quick listen to this.
It's an honor to be in the room with this many people who give a damn. Again, my name is Dane Wigington, again, with the website geoengineeringwatch.org, and the purpose of our site is to give credible, verifiable data to the public and to activists so that we might wake others up as well. It's our responsibility to wake them up because they're not waking up on their own. Clearly, we know that at this point. I never wanted this job. I'm not politically oriented. I'm not an activist. But quite simply, with my background with Bechtel Power in the renewable energy industry, my home was on the cover of the world's largest renewable energy magazine. When I moved to the Pacific Northwest, thinking I would find clean air and seeing these trails above that were blocking, in some cases, 60, 70, 80% of my solar uptake, clearly something was going on. And research led me to this subject. I began testing water, did not want to find these toxic heavy metals, but I did, in ever-increasing amounts. I'm in this fight because my children have no future if we don't stop this. And even if we stop this, we faced immense challenges, immense. But this is the battle that we must win. Henry David Thoreau said, "Thank God men cannot fly, or they would lay waste to the sky as they have done to the earth." That is now reality. Many days our skies look like something from another planet. And it's not just the horizon-to-horizon trails. On an otherwise clear day, there is even more climate engineering going on above the clouds on days like today. And we know this because it's coming down in the rain. We're not speculating. We have 70-plus lab tests in Northern California alone, lab tests from all over the globe. We've seen single rain events as high as 3,450 parts per billion of aluminum. That's an escalation of 50,000% from our original baseline. There's a mountain of metals raining down on all of us. So it's up to us, again, to make people, help people, to look up, to get past their denial, to understand what's going on, because we're all part of a grand and lethal experiment. This is not speculation. Again, we have government documents dating back to the 40s that state, with no ambiguity, the scope and scale of these programs going back that far. 80-page presidential documents posted on geoengineeringwatch.org. What is geoengineering, for those that are not yet familiar with this issue? Geoengineering is climate manipulation on a global scale. It's the attempt to manipulate Earth's life support systems. It involves a number of various layers. The largest and most visible, of course, is the saturation of the atmosphere with reflective, light-scattering metallic particles. This is called solar radiation management, stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, stratospheric aerosol injection.
Okay, so there you go. So there's an introduction, guys. So let's just throw that around the room before I go to the second chapter. What do you think so far?
Anthony.
Yeah, I've been I've done some research on it in the past. I believe here we call it chemtrails. I'm not sure if you've heard the term there, where the planes fly over and they leave literal trails in the sky. Now, I know from like if you go out and here on Long Island, we have the Republic Airport where the fighter jets, once a year they'll do a big thing. If the families come out and they watch the jets go up and they can shoot those trails out as part of I guess the natural exhausts coming out of these planes. But there are also other types of these exhaust trails that come out that are very, very different, and they call them chemtrails, which I believe, as this gentleman was saying, contain all these different chemicals and these metal oxides or whatever they may be. I know it's something that a lot of people apparently don't know about, and I don't know a tremendous amount about it, but it's definitely something that I've looked into in the past. I've read about, and I do believe it is happening.
Rhea, what I wanted to ask you, just going back to Dane Wigington, what is his background and credentials?
He's, I think it was power companies and renewable energy, basically. That's his background that he introduced himself on the lecture with. Yeah,
that audio, that lecture was quite empowering, very impressive.
Okay, so that was that. So I discovered that maybe 2 months ago. I've been looking at it, watching it go along. This thing's picking up traction, and people are sending in for themselves water samples from around the world. And sure enough, these metal particles it's not a natural thing. The evidence suggests that this is going on. I didn't feel that it was enough to bring it to people's attention of what was going on. I need that pièce de résistance to get past people just dismissing it as a conspiracy theory. So sure enough, yesterday I'm doing my thing and stuff, and I find a young lady called Christine Megan. Now, this young lady, she's lovely, and she was in the military 9 years. And her job, hired by the military, was health and safety. So, for example, if the military buys paint to paint the outside of an aeroplane, it was her job to monitor the hazardous chemicals from birth to grave. So they're made, they're used, they're disposed of, and is that safe for the environment and the people use them, and etc. So she chose to go down that path to look after people, as it were. And I found a video online. Now, what I'm about to play you is a clip from it. This is compelling stuff when you watch this. Dean has seen this, but I know he doesn't want to do the opinion thing, which is fine. But if you choose, after you've heard this, to chase it up some more, her name is Chris. You can type this in any search engine. You don't have to go to YouTube. You can go to YouTube as well, but also any search engine. And it's Christine Megan. Now, Christine spelled Kristen.
Now, from what
Meghan.
Rhea, from what I remember, this audio that I also heard, I think, am I correct that it went back to 2014? Is that correct?
It is correct, and that is the reference point. Christine Megan. January 18th.
And I think the event that she spoke at happened to be right here in New York on Long Island in the town of Hauppauge. I think she was at a hotel I'm familiar with called the Upsky Hotel on Motor Parkway in Hauppauge, Long Island.
That's correct.
Wow. Fascinating.
Yeah, so it's Christine Megan, January 18th. If you type that in any search engine, you will see the full 20 minutes that she does, and I promise you it is compelling. And I've just taken a clip out of it about midway after she's done her introduction, so I'd like you to have a little listen to this. She is super lovely, and I feel super genuine, and this was the pièce de résistance. Say, this is enough for me to make some noise about this. Have a listen to this clip.
One of the legal requirements in approving these is looking at what used to be called the material safety data sheet. On that sheet, it's going to list the manufacturer. It's going to list some maybe acquired personal protective equipment that needs to be used or some ways to mitigate the exposures. These electronic MSDSs did not have a manufacturer name. They were very vague. They almost looked to me like somebody had made it and scanned it into the system. So I asked the question, what is this being used for? I never got an answer, so I didn't approve it. And it sat there. And then the heat came down. Why are you behind on your 3952s? Only a select few of us did that. So I started asking questions. And at that point, my demonization began. You know, I made my rank. I was decorated. I was a non-commissioned officer of the quarter. I won lots of awards. I had no reason for anyone to attempt to demonize me. So then I get moved over to the other Air Logistics Center. There's only 2 in the Air Force, which is in Warner Robins, Georgia. This kind of carried with me. And I thought, you know what? Should I revisit this? Is it worth it? Did I hit something? Maybe it's need to know. I started finding the same things at Robins Air Force Base. I was now doing some more investigation work. Part of what I did was to use a high volume air sampler to air sample up to, I'd say, a football field in about 10 minutes. I also conducted soil sampling because I thought, you know, if this is real and they are spraying this, it's going to get to the ground. So I conducted air sampling, I conducted soil sampling, and I was getting high levels of these contaminants. When I started asking the question again under a new commander, I never in my life thought I would have somebody look me in the face and tell me, I am questioning you. Is there something wrong with you? You've been looking really depressed lately. You know I can put you under a mental evaluation for up to 120 days. Who would take care of your daughter? Because I was divorced at the time. As soon as I heard that, I knew. It validated everything I ever thought. And I thought, I've spent 9 years of my life trying to protect human health, and here we are violating law after law after law. Just sitting here, instead of protecting the people, we are poisoning the people.
There you go.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
Wow.
That's it's heavy stuff. I totally believe in it. Whether it's, you know, these are, I know I've heard in other instances where different kinds of metals. Well, if you look at lithium, for example, they I think they use that to treat different types of psychosis, or it can induce psychosis. So I know that these metals and these contaminants can cause mental issues in humans. So whether that's the reason or whether they're doing it to cause other health problems such as cancer, you know, when you look at big pharma and you look at the billions and tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars that are made, if that's the reason of why they're doing this, it wouldn't. And some people may say I'm a conspiracy theorist or a tinfoil hat guy, but you know, I find the older I get, everything in this world boils down to the almighty dollar. And if they need to do something to perpetuate this, you know, this healthcare machine to make more people sick and to sell more drugs, that to me, that's really not that crazy. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, this is some story. I mean, Rhea, you've done looked into a lot of work on this up to this point, and that's the great value you bring to the show. Is this investigative reporting that you do, that really there's going to be a lot of topics and areas that you bring through the show that really the listening audience really hasn't been exposed to, and this is one of them. I mean, Kristen Megan, her credentials, and just that audio alone that took place in Hauppauge, Long Island at the Upsky back in 2014. I mean, very compelling, very powerful, and there's a lot on her on the internet. So I would love for you to try in every way to do everything possible that you can for us to maybe bring Christian Megan and Dane Wigington onto the show one day, and that we have further dialogue on this. It's fascinating.
Rhea, why do you think, what's your take on it as far as why they're doing it?
Well, let me just finish off what I was saying before I give my take on it. The idea of bringing this out into the light is to put it in front of a jury, if you like, rather than me say this is right or wrong. No, this is about, I've made a bit of noise. And for me, when I ask people what their advice would be to other people, they say, you know, on the whole, on the show so far, people have on the whole said, don't be afraid to take a chance, which I think is great. But mine is, there's a fight between good and bad. And we all kind of maybe feel that bad is winning. I for sure do. And I go back to that famous phrase, is that all it takes is for a good person to say nothing and the bad will win. So once I've collected enough, I moved enough to do it, I bring it out. And I've got some other stories as well, but this is the one today. And this young lady, when you watch that 20 minutes that she does that, she's brave. This is so real. And this just coming like a train in the side of her life. She just fell across this thing and so on. So that's the compelling movement of it. I really urge people to, I want to put it out to you. What do you think? Will this have enough impact for you to take it on board and help with traction to stop us getting poisoned? Or will it be overnight, we go back to our normal behaviour and it just carries on? It is what it is. I don't know what will happen there. But in answer to your question, Anthony, one is, are they doing it or not? Well, there's a lot of evidence to suggest there are. And secondly, why are they doing it? And it seems to be, from what I can hear, that the layer around the magnetosphere is getting thinner. And they put it up there to stop the sun's radiation. Unless you wear, like, they do a watch that measures radiation. So if the heat comes in, you can't really tell by heat. That's the thing. And I think the consensus is they put it up there to A, reflect the sunlight, the radiation from the sunlight, and B, control the weather. So that's what's going on with it, really. What the actual answer is, I don't know, but that is what's kind of going around. And certainly Dane Wigington's geoengineeringwatch.com is getting traction, and people are sending in water samples, and it's the same story. They're just loaded with these metal particles. And also, Kristen Megan, since she did that speech, people from the Navy, not the Navy, your Air Force, have come to her and said, we've seen them loading the canisters on the plane. We was part of it, but we can't come forward because we're too scared of what they're going to do to us. And she goes on further into that lecture of what happened there. So back to you guys.
Wow.
Just fascinating. Ria, could you once again, for the audience, just repeat again how people can go to these different audios that you mentioned, if you don't mind repeating it again.
Certainly. The compelling one is Kristen Megan. Just type in any search engine, Kristen Megan, January 18th, and that will take you directly to her YouTube. This is a video. It's not just audio. Obviously, we're dealing with audio, so it's just audio. And Dane Wigington, who's the force behind it. And if you type him in, you'll see where he goes. He has all this evidence, and he goes into sort of the brushlands of California and stuff, and goes to these really hardy brushes and saying, look, the radiation's burning them. And they're trying to get momentum to stop it happening. And there's loads of other people that have been silenced or shut out and so on. But I would start with Kristen Megan's 18th of January and see if that's compelling enough to for you to pursue the search of the truth, as it were.
Wow, just fascinating.
It is.
Anything else in this area before we move on with the show?
I've got two other items, but until then, we can lighten it back up again.
Ria, if I could just lighten it up a little bit, you know, we always mentioned from the beginning of our first show that we want to hear from our audience, our listening audience, and whether it be by way of text or YouTube comments or emails, we want the audience to be very engaged and hear what they have to say, and we want to hear from everybody out there. And I'd like to hear more from people, but we received recently, Ria, out in England, We received, I know there was a YouTube comment that was made on one of our shows. I think it was Brian McLaughlin's shows, the author Brian McLaughlin. I just want to share it with the audience. It came in on YouTube comments, and it was very nice. It was, "Hi, Dean. It's Kevin Knight here from Norfolk, Cambridgeshire in England. Having listened to your interview with Brian McLaughlin, author of A Flight Without Wings, and knowing that the Dean Blechman Show is new to the airwaves, so to speak, I simply had to drop you a line to say how impressed I was with the seamless way in which it all came across. Not only was the topic of conversation of interest, but the involvement of both Anthony in Long Island and Rhea from Milton Keynes in England, alongside yourself, of course. Your guest, the show flowed wonderfully well between you all as it ebbed and flowed with a very relaxed feeling to it. Later in the show, when Rhea introduced her ditties and her Let's Question It along with on-the-spot segments, not forgetting her news updates, the show took on board a whole different feel and nicely balanced your overall presentation. In short, Dean, I thought the whole thing came across wonderfully well, and I look forward to listening in on future shows. By the way, I also listened to the interview you did with Mum. He spells it M-U-M, Rhea. I'm sure you could appreciate that. He says, Mum, Jean Blechman. She came across in such a lovely way, and the intimacy between you both, your mother, was there for all to hear. Very touching in parts, and her opinions were great to listen to. Whatever subject you ran past your mom. A great start, Dean, and I look forward to your next broadcast with very best wishes from this side of the pond, Kevin Knight. Kevin, thank you very much, if you're listening, for your kind and gracious comments. Very nice. Out your way, Rhea in England.
That was beautiful. Beautiful.
That was lovely, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Very, very proud of that. You guys, what we're doing here, it's just a great feeling to hear from people with those types of comments.
You got to get Mom back on the show again.
Yeah.
Very soon. I wish we can call her now and patch her in. But,
That's right. That's right.
You got to let her know. You got to get her back real soon.
So, anything else, Rhea, on that you want? You would mention two other things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I have one on a general consensus about the formatting of the show, I guess, with as I look back at the past shows and we're all getting the hang of it, I wanted people to know that we are still getting the balance between it being light and a talky kind of show with informative information of interest. And when I listened back to Zach and Cody's show, I felt, because you guys know each other so well, right? I might take the stance, obviously speaking with you first, when you're speaking with people that you know really well, it's quite difficult to add in the latter part of the show in a good way, if you like, in a positive way. It's a bit like, imagine you was walking into a bar and there was a group of people that knew each other for 20, 30 years. It's quite difficult to interact at their wavelength. And I guess there's a few ways to go about that. But ultimately, you never really latch in at that wavelength because you simply don't have the history. So maybe my thoughts are on those really shows where Dean knows these people so well, maybe back out on what I bring to the latter part of the show. So I just wanted to say that's work in progress, really. And I think maybe there is some substance in what I say. What do you think, Dean?
Rhea, I agree with you. When you look at shows like My Mom and future shows, the closeness with my dear friend Barry Bonds, and whether it be Zach and Cody Vachinsky, and we can go on, I could see that people that are very close to me for years, I could see very intimate and personal conversations that take place on the show, that I could see more you staying back and not as involved in shows and conversations, because there's going to be lots of guests that come on here that I haven't even personally met for the first time, but their stories and their backgrounds and their careers and just everything about them is so breathtaking that I want them on as guests, and they want to be on as guests. And these are people that I don't know personally or intimately, that I could see you having greater involvement in the show with guests like that.
I'm fine with that. I think that sounds like a good idea to me. I do, because I think the people that say listen to Zach and Cody's show for Zach and Cody probably know you as well, and they just want to hear you guys gas, right?
Yes.
That's my take on it, really. So
I mean, when you use,
I don't want to get in the way of that.
When you use Zach and Cody as an example, I mean, these were guys, you know, they're men now. These were adolescent kids that were many of hundreds that came through this home where the studio is, and as he touched on, he thought the studio would be set up in the basement, not on the main floor of the house, which Sharon's not crazy about, but she's getting better. But he said there's been quite a bit of experiences that took place in that basement that he thought the show would take place down there. So you're talking about young men that through their, 10, 11, 12, 15 years age, 18 years age, came through this house. As you know, before they became legends in the real estate business, they did work around my house, part-time work, that there's some great stories. So, there's a lot of history there that we could have gone on for hours, and it was a very personal, intimate show. But I thought you were great, Rhea. They loved you.
Oh, you're very kind. I mean, I just think there's room for movement. I'm happy to move. And I think just for people listening, if you've hopefully my analogy in the bar makes sense, and you just can't, because you just don't have the history. If we don't know the guests, if you don't know them, hey, it's no problem, is it? But if you do know them really well and everybody's listening to tune in to listen to you guys chat, I would imagine the last thing they want is that latter part of the show. So work in progress, audience. I'm working on it.
I think Anthony would agree with me. What is a category blockbuster killer here is the genre that we're in, and that we're doing a online radio show that's global. Mm-hmm. And once again, that I think's the most important thing is not you're engaged of conversations with people that are close to me that are difficult for you to break into. But as I said on previous shows, what's unique about what we're doing here on the show is that we're bringing so different cultures of your world, and your culture is so, we joked about it, about how I behaved yesterday when things weren't going perfectly. And for you and I to go through that together, and the two different worlds and cultures, guy from New York, Long Island, and a beautiful lady out in Milton Keynes, Europe. And, the most important thing that I think nobody has out there and what we're doing is it's a beautiful thing that our two cultures are coming together here on this show for the audience to experience and listen, and hopefully they love it every day and want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and what's cool too is that I've been looking into numbers and stats of even mainstream media and mainstream news, and their numbers are just slumping quarter after quarter, year after year. They're just getting hammered. It's like nobody really cares to hear what's on the news anymore, as opposed to 10, 20, 30 years ago. So I believe we have a tremendous opportunity as an alternative source of just news and banter and talk radio, and just to be able to have fun and bring something new and shed some light into people's lives. I think ultimately this could be really a tremendous thing because people are looking for alternatives, and the numbers prove it.
Right. I agree with you. Rhea, back over to you. I know that you had some other items that you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, I do. And it's also bringing people in on what's going on behind the scenes. Because I'm an investigative journalist, I'm sitting on a lot of info that you guys just know nothing about. and in my world of Edward Snowden, or I could name names all day long, It's finding that line that is informative but not too shocking. So, and that's also something that I'm working with as well. What is suitable so that keeps the show going and it is of genuine interest? Because when you don't hear from people, you don't really know. So that's also something I'm working with. Okay, so just 2 more things. One is a bit of a shocker and the other isn't. I just wanted to say this. I've got some news coming in and on the next show, which will go out Tuesday. Oh, no, it won't. It'll go out whenever it goes out. Is what do you guys know? So this is a question to you two and the audience, if you wanted to join in. What do you know about the TPP agreements?
The Trans-Pacific Partnership, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it has something to do where China and countries in the Asian Pacific region there get some type of favorable tax treatment and other benefits in trading with us. But I may be wrong.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Dean?
that's pretty much out of my area. Let's just leave that to Anthony. I really don't know much about that.
It's been a while. I did read about it when it was first coming. It wasn't even really in the news. They were kind of like covering it up. But when I did hear about it, I did read about it. But that was quite a while ago, and I read a lot, so my memory is definitely not good. I could tell you that.
No, I get that. Well, this TPP thing, Trans-Pacific Partnership, is a major deal for your government. They are pushing it with all their might, and they are struggling because they want it done before the end of Obama's term. For one reason or another, it's crucially important that it gets done. Well, the fact is not many people really know too much about it, but it's seriously going to affect the global economy and your lives in the US. Well, it turns out that WikiLeaks has some of the TPP agreement that's been leaked. So you get to see what's in it. And it's fascinating and it's not what you think it is. But so I've got that for the next show that we do. So I've got his take on, he's got it, or he's got some of it. And he's also going to pull out an October surprise for Hillary Clinton, as in Julian Assange. You know Julian Assange, guys?
Love him. He is a trailblazer.
I know the name. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so he's hauled up in the Ecuadorial embassy for 4 years. Guy's put his life on hold for 4 years and all this kind of thing. So that's what I'm going to be bringing. I won't go into it too much. Excuse me, but he has stuff going on. And I've also just a bit of what's going on in the last week. This broke about 6 days ago. What about Hillary Clinton's health? Has anybody raised any questions about Hillary Clinton's health, your side?
Just what I hear in the news, what I hear in, on CNN and Fox, different things that it sounds like Trump's people are really focusing on Hillary's psychological well-being and her health overall.
They're trying to cover it up big time, and apparently she's really sick.
Yeah, right. Well, word is out. It broke a week ago. It was leaked that she's actually been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Wow.
I believe it. I've seen videos of her acting crazy, with having these little seizures and things, and as a human being, you don't want to wish malice on anybody, but I think for the sake of this country and the sake of the world, her having to drop out of the race due to medical problems would be a godsend. Sorry, Mrs. Blechman.
You really want to get my mom upset, don't you? She's dying to get at you and Rhea. Once again, my show, when it comes to political, I'm not taking any sides here with what Rhea's brought up. This health topic with Hillary Clinton, I could only go by what I hear in the popular press and in the media. I don't personally know 100% for sure. I have not witnessed it, Hillary Clinton's health. So I'm only, my comment is only on what I'm hearing out there. So I don't know if it's truthful or not. That's all.
Yeah.
And nor do I, Dean. The fact is that If you look, type in Hillary Clinton Parkinson's, you'll see it's been around for the last 6 days. And they're also saying this was leaked from the top. This wasn't a small thing that built up. This was leaked out from the top and it's found its way down. So that is of a concern. And they're saying that she's going to be replaced with Joe Biden. And of course, only time will tell.
You know, I saw a picture. One of her, it's her supposed one handler, and I think he's also a doctor and a Secret Service agent as well. Big, tall, 6'3", 6'4", African American gentleman, probably 300 pounds. Huge. When you see him in a picture, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. And there was one picture where you can see him clearly carrying, I forget the actual medical term for it, but it's a diazepam pen. And the only reason that the doctor would carry that or somebody would carry that is if a person was experiencing these mini seizures. And I mean, you could see him walking in front of her and you look in his hand and it's as clear as day that that's what he has in his hand. And that would lend some credence to the idea that she does have this Parkinson's or some type of other seizure disorder.
Bless her. I hope she hasn't. But hey, there you go. So that was it, Dean. That was what, it's a kind of fresh off the press stuff, darling.
Well, this was a great show, guys. It was really a great show that we'll do once in a while, these types of formats. And Rhea, I want to thank you again that the unique quality that you bring to the show is this investigative reporting on different subjects and topics. And I know that it will continue and that the audience will hear a lot of topics and subjects that they haven't heard before, and they'll hear it for the first time on the Dean Blechman Show. So thank you very much, Rhea.
You're welcome, guys. Again, I'm not saying anything is true or false. I would like to put it out to jury, and you lovely guys right now listening to this, yes, you, have a look for yourselves and see what you make of it. That is what I'm trying to do.
Hey, on another note, as we're talking about the show format, something I like to add in now and then is my Netflix pick, if that's all right with you guys, because I'm a very avid. I don't watch cable television. I only watch CNBC during the day as it pertains to my work, but at nighttime I do not watch news or reality shows or anything on cable TV. I just watch Netflix. And occasionally I'll watch some streaming YouTube stuff on my Apple TV. But I love Netflix, and I have to say that I'm watching a series right now with Tim Roth, and it's called Lie to Me. And it only ran for 3 seasons. But if you have Netflix, you got to watch this show called Lie to Me. It's he's a scientist that I don't know if it's based on a true story or not. I should look into it because it is fascinating. And he basically can read people's face. They're called micro expressions. So he can tell when people are lying. So he's retained by the FBI and by the city of DC, and he's working on all these different cases to basically sit with people and read them and read these micro expressions to tell if they're lying, to tell if they have some sort of fear or some sort of guilt. And I mean, it's really just an incredible show. It's funny. The suspense is just tremendous. Wow. You'll be on the edge of your seat the whole time. It's great. So Lie to Me on Netflix.
Wow, great, Anthony.
Thank you.
I'll check it out.
I know that next week, Tuesday, August 23rd, we have a show that I'm very excited about that's coming up. We're going to have as our guest here in the studio live, Bakiti Kumalo. Bakiti Kumalo is a legendary bassist, has toured for 30 years with the legendary Paul Simon. And I know that you got to be very excited about this show on Tuesday, Anthony. I know your love and passion for music. Just excited to have Bakiti Kumalo in the studio here live on the Dean Blechman Show, someone that has toured for 30 years with the great Paul Simon. Paul found Bakiti, made a trip to South Africa, and met Bakiti, and the rest is history. That you'll the audience is going to hear a really exciting show from a very, very humble, talented gentleman.
Yeah, that is really, really awesome. Definitely looking forward to it. And you forget you have two musicians, because you got Rhea across the pond there, who's probably a better musician than me, and she's been a music teacher, so I'm sure she's looking forward to it just as much, if not more, than myself. But yeah, that's going to be incredible.
So in closing, anything else that you and Rhea would like to say before as I always close out the show?
No, I'm good, guys. I've sort of excuse me, said my thing. And BK, I think we're just going to work on something after the show as well. So we'll see what happens there in terms of the Dean Blechman show. But that's me, Dean.
Terrific. Anthony, anything else?
I'm good, brother. It's always a pleasure being with you guys.
Well, as always, I always like to close out the show because we love to have involvement from our listening audience. So we want to hear from all our listeners. Listeners can reach out to us with the free text number. For U.S. residents, it's 631-372-8849. That's 631-372-8849. We'd love to hear from all of you. Include your name and location, and we will mention you on the show. Please don't forget to like us on Facebook and to hit the subscribe button on the show's YouTube channel. If you would like to leave a comment, use the box below. If you would like to share your story, any ideas, and be a guest on the show, go to deanblechman.com and email me. I would again like to thank all my listeners for being with us today. Until next time, have a great day.
You've been listening to The Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island, New York. From all of us here, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. We look forward to hearing your comments via Facebook, Twitter, Skype, and email. And don't forget, you can visit the webpage anytime for the up-and-coming guest list. From all of us here, have a good evening.